How did one phone call expose a cartel network and a corporate spin-off in the same breath? You're in the right place. We'll unpack how Mallinckrodt held a 23% opioid market share, drove $400 million through a sales force, and then got sliced off in 2013 as Covidien allegedly redirected $867 million in key liabilities using a separation agreement and a tax matters agreement. Watch to see why a court refused to dismiss the safe harbor defense at the outset, and how that keeps the door open to recoveries for opioid victims. Before we move on, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel and like the video. So that one anonymous call? It didn't point at a street dealer? It lit up a supply chain. You've got a prescriber feeding a distributor feeding a manufacturer, and every loop the DEA runs keeps landing on the same weird pattern. Massive orders that glide through a suspicious order filter like it's optional. The software blinks. The pallets move. And nobody wants to claim the blinking. On paper, everything looks tidy. Thresholds, forms, acknowledgements. The volumes, though, talk louder. You don't see mom-and-pop demand pushing truckloads. You see clinic clusters sending repeat buys that make a normal quarter look like a clearance sale. Distributors say, hey, we flagged. Manufacturer logs say, reviewed and released. So who owns the risk when both sides say they did their part? That gap is where the traffic lives. Follow the money lane next to the pill lane. Cash gets corralled in a clean sweep system. Daily netting. Intercompany settles in silence. Credits and debits kiss and make up. And no one has to say out loud that orders keep clearing while accounts wash to zero. It's neat. It's designed. And it means the flow never has to stop to ask why. Here's the thing. When alerts start to sting, someone always finds a way to turn them down. Lower the sensitivity, raise the threshold, reclassify the outliers as growth. You see internal notes that treat customer momentum like a KPI worth protecting. Translation: if a buyer keeps buying, the system learns to applaud instead of interrupt. That's not compliance. That's customer service in a lab coat. It's like a smoke alarm set to only ring after the fire hits the neighbor's house. Technically, it works. Practically, it's useless. And while the alarm snoozes, orders swell, clinics get louder, and the intake pipeline hums like a vending machine that never runs out of quarters. The timeline lines up with heat in the real world. Federal questions go out, the kind that force you to gather emails, policies, and shipment data you don't want outside the building. Media stories stack up about clinics that prescribe more than hospitals. Pharmacies become destinations, not corner stores. Everyone promises reviews. Shipments continue, so you keep following the line. And that's when the diversion map starts pulling toward a boardroom move that looks more like plumbing than strategy. A spin, a separation, a set of agreements that let one side stay clean and another side hold the noise. You're not looking at a single bad clinic anymore. You're watching liabilities and inventory trade places on a calendar. That anonymous call didn't just pick a route for pills, it picked a route for money. The logistics go one direction, the risk goes the other. And by the end of the trace, the person with the phone isn't pointing at a pharmacist, they're pointing at a clause. So, if the pipeline stayed open, who kept the valve wide and why did the warnings get quieter as the orders got louder? So, why did doctors keep climbing the dose ladder while headlines screamed abuse? Because the machine taught them to. You had the top manufacturer with a fat slice of the market and a field team chasing roughly $400 million in branded opioid sales. That combo doesn't whisper. It tells you where to aim. And what moved the needle wasn't starter doses, it was strength. Higher milligrams, longer scripts, stickier refills. It's real. It's happening. But here's the catch. Inside materials acknowledge misuse risk, and the FDA wouldn't greenlight bold, abuse-deterrent claims for the flagship extended-release pill. So the field pivoted. They didn't sell indestructible. They sold appropriate patience and titration and optimized control. Translation: walk the dose up. If you can't market tamper-proof, market manage the patient and keep the escalation framed as clinical stewardship. Neat, clean, aggressively profitable. Let's break it down. You recruit key opinion leaders, not random speakers. the ones other prescribers follow. You book dinners that feel like mini-conferences, wrap them in continuing education, and put a microphone in front of a voice that says, "Here's when to step up to the higher strength." You seed peer-to-peer lunches. You role-play objections. Reps get trained to turn "I'm worried about abuse" into "Here's how you identify the right candidate, monitor, and continue therapy." There's a script for everything, including how to ask for the next dose without sounding pushy. And the FDA back and forth becomes a calendar hack. Labels take months. Reviews take quarters. Marketing cycles don't wait. While language gets negotiated, the field cycles through data updates, real-world experience, and soft claims about convenience and adherence. No fireworks, just steady nudges that normalize climbing the ladder. By the time a label change lands, the habits are already baked. Here's a quick story that kept coming up in whispers. A high-volume prescriber starts showing up at the nice dinners, the kind with the white tablecloth and the carefully worded slide deck. Their numbers jump. Local pharmacies notice the pattern. Compliance knocks. The prescriber gets support, meaning more materials, a refresher on documentation, maybe a territory director ride along. The quota clock doesn't stop. Neither does the pressure to keep the top-dose Exalgo moving. Meanwhile, 2011 brings louder health warnings and a swarm of pill mill coverage. DEA heat rises. The message on the street is, "Tighten up." The message in the field is, "Maintain share of voice, protect access, push for formulary wins so prior auth doesn't slow you down." The contradiction is the point. Public health speaks in years. Sales goals speak in 90-day sprints. So here's the thing. When scrutiny spikes, you don't shrink the model, you shift the risk. You change which customers carry the growth. You reroute samples, rebalance territories, and steer the messaging to settings that feel safer on paper. The playbook matures, not retreats. That's the mini payoff. None of this was random. The incentives rewarded volume and potency, so volume and potency showed up. And when the growth started attracting subpoenas and suits, the finance team lined up a different shipment entirely. Liabilities. So how do you move risk without looking like you moved risk? You change the label, not the load. That's the 2013 play. Covidien takes the pharma arm, wraps it, and sends it out as Mallinckrodt with a separation agreement and a tax matters agreement glued to the side. The pill engine gets a new nameplate. The paperwork keeps the parents' hands clean. Here's the catch. The flow goes one way for cash and the other for obligations. The story the trust lays out is simple and ugly. Cash gets harvested, debt gets assigned, and the shiny assets don't ride with the liabilities. Covidien hangs on to the good stuff. The spun company gets the noise, the legal shadows, and a calendar full of payments. Let's break it down. When the note's priced, money showed up fast. Note proceeds came in. Transfers moved. And the question is basic. Who actually pocketed the proceeds once the intermediaries took their slice? The trail points to non-pharma assets getting parked safely on the parent side while intercompany transfers settled what needed settling. The new co ends up carrying the IOUs. The old co walks with the cushion. The trust pegs the number at $867 million designed to protect the parent. Let that sink in. That's not a rounding error. That's a strategy. The debt instruments, on the other hand, don't land in a vacuum. They land on Mallinckrodt's balance sheet, where interest doesn't care about PR and maturities don't wait for litigation to cool off. Now the tax matters agreement. That little hook means future tax claims and adjustments can still chase the spun entity long after the party. If there's a dispute, the newco eats it. If an allocation shifts, the newco adjusts. The parent stays light and fast. The subsidiary keeps the anchor in the trunk, smiling for investors while hauling legacy weight. Here's where it gets spicy. There's a legal shield called Section 546E. In plain English, it can block clawbacks of certain securities-related transfers if the right financial players touch the money. Sounds like a force field. But the court looked at the early record and said, "Not yet." You don't get the shield at the pleading stage without facts. Who are the real financial participants? What did they do? How did the transfers route? Answer those, then we'll talk. And if that shield doesn't stretch over the whole maze, those transfers can get pulled back. That's not theory. That's a recovery path. Victims don't need a headline. They need wires identified, counterparties named, and a judge who sees through the structure. Mini payoff right here. That's why the motion to dismiss on 546E got denied without prejudice. The roster of who counts as a qualifying financial player isn't locked down yet. The map is still being drawn, and every node matters. So, what looked like a clean corporate makeover now reads like a recovery roadmap, line by line, account by account, if investigators can prove intent.